I'm Rudy Shabazi in for Nicole Burley. It is Friday, September 3rd. This is Rush Hour. Those top stories in just a moment. Tonight, we're also following Texas's controversial abortion law. It's being both praised and criticized, even inspiring lawmakers in several other states to try to pass similar laws. A Florida sheriff's deputy faced with a seemingly impossible task: how to save more than 30 family members trapped in Afghanistan after the Taliban's takeover, how he exhausted every option to get them out safely. And one of the most well-known figures from the Capitol riot pleading guilty in federal court today, how long the so-called QAnon shaman could spend behind bars. But we begin in Louisiana, where breaking right now, the president is getting a first-hand look at the destruction Hurricane Ida left behind. The power company Entergy says there are more than 600,000 people still without power across the state, nearly cut in half from the more than a million just days ago. And it could be nearly a week before all the lights are back on. Gary Burton with our Jackson, Mississippi station WJTV was there as President Biden toured the damage. And Gary, what was his reaction?
Well, President Joe Biden was in LaPlace plus the St. John's Parish Emergency Operations Center, and he also took an aerial tour to view the hard-hit areas that was hit by Hurricane Ida. Now, the president has promised federal support to states hit by Ida, and more than 220,000 people in Louisiana has already signed up for FEMA's help. Now, after the neighborhood tour, Biden also gave remarks. He called on private insurance companies to not, quote, hide behind the fine print after hearing many companies are denying coverage for living assistance unless homeowners were under a mandatory evacuation. And reports show that other companies like USAA and Allstate are already planning to cover customers' living expenses who left on their own or a mandatory evacuee.
And Gary, the president described seeing all those down poles. Entergy says more than 9,000 poles are damaged on top of the thousands of damaged wires, the hundreds of transformers. How is that all being addressed?
Well, even with all the crews here working on the infrastructure, they are still, even with all the crews working on the infrastructure, the president still took the time to talk about his Build Back Better program, which is designed for education as well as infrastructure for future storms. And he even brought up the fact of, for an example, to not rebuild power poles, to build them underground, even if it costs more money.
All right, Gary, thank you for that live report. The Northeast is still recovering from remnants of Hurricane Ida, which blew through Wednesday night and Thursday morning, leaving an absolute mess behind. At least 49 people died in the storm, many drowning in their basement apartments or in their cars, caught off guard by its strength. Our correspondent Paul Gerke joins us now from New York City, where hundreds of people had to be rescued. And Paul, how is New York making sure residents are prepared for the next major weather event?
Rudy, like anything else, it starts with the almighty dollar. And on that front, Governor Kathy Hochul got some very good news today, because President Biden has approved an emergency disaster declaration. That'll affect the 14 counties that have been impacted by Ida, and it unlocks some critical federal funding that'll help with the recovery effort. Meanwhile, here in New York City, as you can see behind me, Central Park is finally starting to dry out. Much of the wreckage that was here a day ago has been cleaned up. Ultimately, though, Mayor Bill de Blasio thinks this is going to cost tens, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars to properly update the infrastructure here. In the meantime, however, they've got to try something else. He's going to lean on what he's calling the climate-driven rain response, a new set of rules and protocols that will help prevent a similar disaster the next time a monster storm rolls through.
We have to handle this differently because we've now been shown an entirely different situation. It is climate driven, and that's crucial to put up front, because it's not like the rain we used to know. It's just not.
Mayor de Blasio is targeting climate change as a primary reason for Ida's devastating floodwaters. Instead of the expected 3 to 6 inches of rain in a day, Central Park got more than 3 inches in an hour, breaking the record set by Hurricane Henry last month.
Things that we were told are once in a century are now happening regularly.
The borough of Queens was especially hard hit, despite a $2 billion project to upgrade its sewer systems.
That kind of accumulation in 1 hour is more than even the most modern systems can often handle. Our best bet in the short term is to change the entire concept and have an evacuation plan.
That means getting people off the streets and out of the subways and making basement apartments a priority, even if that means a special alert system or forceful door-to-door evacuations. De Blasio is also setting up an extreme weather response task force, which will establish new protocols by Climate Week, starting September 26th.
We're constantly racing against higher and higher standards, and we're going to have to do our best to meet them. But sometimes, the power of nature will surpass us.
And Mother Nature doesn't take any breaks either, especially during hurricane season. Right now, all eyes are on the Atlantic, where Larry is currently stirring up. Experts predict it will become a major hurricane and might take a turn toward the U.S.'s eastern seaboard next week. Ruta Bay?
Not what anyone needs. So the bottom line, was New York prepared? Was New York City prepared?
That's a tough question to answer, and it probably depends on who you ask. It seems like Mayor de Blasio was genuinely caught off guard by the strength of this storm. No doubt we had plenty of warning that it was coming, but the fact that we'd be setting the record for rainfall for the second time in 10 days, I don't think anyone saw that coming specifically. But I guess the protocol moving forward is just to prepare for the worst. And if the worst doesn't come, that's great, but we need to be prepared for stronger and stronger storms.
All right, Paul, thank you. And let's turn now to New Jersey. 2 days after Ida hit the state, it is still dealing with devastating flooding. At least 25 people have died and hundreds have been rescued from their homes. In Fairfield, New Jersey, residents evacuated this morning in anticipation of nearby river flooding. 70% of the town is in a flood zone. People there made sandbags today to protect their homes. In nearby Cranford, New Jersey, floodwaters have receded and residents are beginning to clean up their damaged belongings. And that is where we find News Nation's Craig Treadway from our station WPIX in New York. So, Craig, what kind of damage are you seeing?
Well, Ruta Bay, first let me tell you that Cranford police estimate they've rescued more than 350 people during and after the storm. We're in a neighborhood about a block away from the Rahway River. Again, far too close for comfort during Ida, as Ida dumped more than 9 inches of rain on the area. Now, once again, the residents of Cranford, New Jersey, get walloped by the eastern branch of the Rahway River. Ida's torrential rains turning this neighborhood into part of the river itself as it overflowed its banks, prompting evacuations and rescues Wednesday night into Thursday. And if Friday is considered the morning after, the headaches were all around. A parade of belongings gathered over the years piled up at the curb. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy was touring communities along the Rahway hit hard by Ida, and once again calling on the Army Corps of Engineers to get in gear to figure out a mitigation plan. In the meantime, plenty of fatigue and deja vu for beleaguered residents here. In fact, Ruta Bay, some of these residents I spoke to say this is the 4th time that they've had to deal with this type of flooding. However, I don't think they expected anything like Ida. Now, Governor Phil Murphy today basically said in a nutshell, the state and the country really need to make a quantum leap, that our infrastructure is just not built for the realities of today. Basically, I can tell you the folks in this Cranford neighborhood need a break. Ruta Bay, back to you.
No doubt, Craig. We can tell by all the damage behind you. Those were someone's belongings, someone's story. Thank you for that live report. And despite weather issues nationwide and warnings for people to stay put because of the pandemic, airports are already slammed ahead of Labor Day weekend. News Nation correspondent Brian Etten is live at Miami International Airport. And Brian, what is the scene like where you are?
Well, Ruta Bay, it's been busy. It's just been slammed all day long. All of the travelers that we've spoken to said they've just had the itch to get out over Labor Day weekend, to go somewhere new, to travel, to finally leave their houses. But many are saying they're very much aware of COVID. They're aware of the Delta variant, and they've got more outdoor activities planned.
The crush is on at airports around the country, people coming and going. Travelers eager for a last summer hurrah, worried but not deterred by the recent COVID surge in Florida.
Any COVID concerns?
Definitely a little bit, with this many people being around here in close proximity. Obviously, doubled up on masks whenever we're in the plane, but you know, I'm vaccinated.
Still a little scary out there, but sometimes you got to risk it for the biscuit.
Risk it for the biscuit.
That's right.
According to TripAdvisor, the top 5 Labor Day travel destinations are Ocean City, Maryland, Orlando, Florida, Las Vegas, Nevada, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and New York City. But from Texas to California, we found people on the move with no pandemic fear.
The face mask is what I'm going to rely on. Everybody else is wearing it.
We're vaxxed, so we're trying to get back to normal and live our lives. So happy to do something fun and do some traveling.
Masks are still required inside all airports, but no matter if you're flying or driving, the CDC is warning anyone who's unvaccinated to just stay home.
If you are unvaccinated, we would recommend not traveling.
TripAdvisor says baby boomers are the most apprehensive to travel this weekend, but millennials are eager to get away.
How crazy has the airport been?
It's been crazy busy. I mean, I flew in from Atlanta, which is one of the larger airports, so yeah, it's been crazy hectic, crazy busy, obviously.
And so there's this new phrase going around Ruta Bay. It's called revenge travel. It's people who are worried about lockdowns and COVID restrictions in the future who feel like now is the time to get out and hit the road or hit the airport and explore new places. And I'll tell you today, it is just busy out here at MIA. Ruta Bay.
Looks very busy. Brian, thank you. And Labor Day travel is expected to remain busy, not just in Florida, but across the country, despite growing cases of the Delta variant. In some places, gas prices are skyrocketing to their highest levels ever, and it's bound to put a strain on your pocketbook at the pump. News Nation correspondent Nancy Liu joining us live now from Los Angeles. And Nancy, how much are gas prices in California?
It is eye-opening. Ruta Bay, as you know, Californians are used to paying more for gas, but this is next level stuff. We're on the west side of LA, and it is $5.79 a gallon for regular here, $6 for premium. Ahead of Labor Day, drivers everywhere are paying more, with Californians paying more than ever.
I looked at the sign and I see how much the price was. I was like, what?
Kamar Facey is not alone in his state of price shock. He was almost at empty, so he had to pull in here on the west side of LA, where gas is nearly $6 a gallon. So it's $10, got less than 2.
I'm gonna do 10 right here, just so I have gas in my tank so my car won't shut down, and then go somewhere else later on and get some more gas and fill up.
The numbers are flying fastest for Californians, as an estimated 43 million Americans hit the road over the next few days. Drivers across the country are paying far more for fuel.
Even when gas prices are high heading into a holiday weekend, that does not deter most people from traveling, because so many people make their plans way in advance before they know what the pump prices are going to be heading into a holiday weekend.
According to AAA, the current national average for regular is $3.18 a gallon, almost $1 more than last year. California's average jumped by more than $1 to hit a new average high of $4.40. Hurricane Ida has complicated the situation in the southeast. Around New Orleans, long lines are forming long before stations even open. Overall prices are expected to drop along with high demand after this weekend.
It's horrible for the other businesses that would have got my money. Why do I want to give these people my money? I could give, a restaurant or one of the places on Melrose. I could give a lot of other people my money.
And along with restaurant, AAA expects these high gas prices to also impact hotels and retail spending. These numbers add up fast. Ruta Bay?
All right, all those frustrated LA drivers. Nancy Liu, thank you very much in Los Angeles for us. Let's get to Gerard Jabailey now live in the Weather Center. So Gerard, what is the forecast for this holiday weekend?
Hey, Ruta Bay, not a whole lot of problems. Thankfully, we don't have like a major hurricane hitting nearby. That would have been, of course, the worst case scenario. But it looks like we're only going to have some small impacts to a few places, mainly along the central part of the United States here. So we're looking at Kansas City with some chances for some rainfall as we move into tomorrow. High heat down in South and Central Texas, as well as down along the Gulf Coast. Once we move into Sunday here, we'll start to see some things improve for a few locations, and that'll be mainly north of where this rain is happening, which is along a cold front. Overall, this is going to be a much easier to handle system as we get into the next several days. We are only going to see mainly impacts from rainfall. Again, central United States, but behind that, some cooler air to help things down quite a bit. It'll be actually pretty nice on Monday for a lot of folks.
All right, Chart, thank you very much. Hiring really accelerated during June and July, nearly 1 million jobs both those months. But in August, not so much. Today's jobs report showed the economy didn't even come close to that 1 million mark. And this morning, President Biden blamed the Delta variant for derailing this summer's rapid economic rebound. News Nation's Evan Lambert joins us now. And Evan, how many jobs were economists expecting to see today?
Well, Rudabeh, they were expecting about 700,000 jobs, but it is clear when it looked like the economy was picking up after the pandemic that COVID-19 and the Delta variant in particular is still hurting the American worker. Now, the August numbers, a huge disappointment, 235,000 jobs added in August. Now, in June and July, that number was 1 million. The biggest slowdowns in growth, they came in certain fields: hospitality, leisure, retail, all fields that really take a hit when those COVID numbers do spike. Now, the president and economists, they blame this uncertainty over the virus on those slowing numbers. Now, there is a little bit of a bright spot here. The unemployment rate is 5.2%. Now, that is lower, the lowest that we've seen in 18 months. President Biden did address this jobs report before he went off to New Orleans today. We also got some analysis from an economics expert.
All right, that was Evan Lambert for us. Violent extremism hit New Zealand today. 6 people were stabbed at a supermarket there. News Nation's Joe Khalil joins us live from Washington, D.C. now. And Joe, what are investigators saying about the motive?
Well, right away, New Zealand's prime minister did not mince words. She immediately labeled it ISIS-inspired terrorism. That's what she said. The person who did this actually was known to authorities because of his connection to ISIS ideology, but he ended up stabbing 6 people, 3 of whom had to go to the hospital in critical condition. This is now the second high-profile attack that was either done by ISIS or was ISIS-inspired in just the last 8 days or so. The first, of course, being that blast, that suicide bombing in Kabul that ended up killing more than 200 Afghans and 13 U.S. service members and women. So that is certainly the concern. Now, here's how the prime minister in New Zealand described this most recent attack.
A violent extremist undertook a terrorist attack on innocent New Zealanders in the Newland Countdown in Auckland. This was a violent attack. It was senseless, and I am so sorry it happened.
Now, these are just 2 attacks, but they have led some national security experts to question whether or not in Afghanistan right now, with Taliban leadership, there's going to be a haven for terrorist organizations to operate freely without the scrutiny of American military officials being there on the ground right now. We did talk to an FBI agent, a former FBI agent, who tells us, though, an important thing to keep in mind is that, remember, these organizations are not all the same. ISIS and the Taliban, in many cases, actually have very different interests and some different ideologies. So it is important to know that, not to, brush all of them in the same way, Rudabeh. But that's certainly a concern that at least some national security experts have right now about whether ISIS does have an opportunity to reemerge.
Yeah, and Joe, we just learned that President Biden signed an executive order mandating a review and a release of some of the currently classified 9/11 documents. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so for a long time, these documents have been classified, purportedly showing some kind of information, some kind of tie between the Saudi government and 9/11. Remember, most of the 9/11 hijackers were actually Saudi nationals, and the victims of the 9/11 attack, their families have for years been demanding that some of this information be made public. For 4 administrations now, it has not. But today, we just found out that the Biden administration, the president signed an executive order saying that over the next 6 months, they're going to do a review of all of this information, decide which of it can be declassified and made public. We've already hearing some reaction from some of the 9/11 families. Some say that it's not far enough, but others have said that this is an important first step and the first step of any significance that they've seen to get some of the answers that they have been wanting now for 20 years.
Yeah, they've been waiting so long for that. Joe Khalil, thank you. A Florida sheriff's deputy, originally from Afghanistan, went to extreme lengths to get his family out of the country. Before moving to the Tampa Bay area, he spent 8 years as a translator for U.S. Special Forces. And tonight he's sharing the story about how he saved 33 of his loved ones with News Nation's Jeff Patterson from our station WFLA in Tampa.
The Sarasota County deputy is originally from Afghanistan. He worked for years as a combat linguist for U.S. Special Forces and the U.S. Marine Corps. The effort to get Afghan citizens out of Afghanistan was coordinated here at U.S. Central Command at MacDill Air Force Base. But doing that was not easy. Just before the last U.S. forces pulled out of Afghanistan, the situation at the airport in Kabul became chaotic and dangerous. Among the thousands trying to get out, 33 family members of Sarasota County Sheriff's Deputy Mubarak. They had to get out, as he worked as an interpreter for the U.S. military for 8 years.
It's very important because I worked as a combat linguist with U.S. Special Forces, and that puts not only me in danger, but also my family in danger.
While working for the U.S. military, Deputy Mubarak worked with Marine Colonel Randy Hoffman, who just happens to be the cousin of Sarasota County Sheriff Kurt Hoffman.
To listen to my cousin, he credits Deputy Mubarak with protecting him and saving the lives of a lot of Marines in the work that he did over there in the war zones.
Mubarak's family lived in rural Afghanistan and moved at night to make it to the airport in Kabul. But even then, there were no guarantees they would be safe.
They were turned away about 4 or 5 times by the Taliban checkpoints, and then were able to make it the 5th time onto the base. Then they flew to Germany and Qatar.
Deputy Mubarak's family is now at a U.S. military base in Texas and preparing to come here. Sheriff Hoffman says they were able to escape their country with only the clothes they are wearing.
They're going to need clothing, they're going to need food, they're going to need jobs, and they're already inquiring through Deputy Mubarak, are we going to be able to find work?
We're not using Deputy Mubarak's first name out of security concerns. He's worried that even now, if the Taliban finds out who he is, there could be problems down the road. In Tampa, Jeff Patterson for News Nation.
The man who stormed the nation's capital wearing a horned fur hat pleads guilty for his role in the riot. What's next for the QAnon shaman? In Texas, the state's new abortion law drawing a lot of feedback, both positive and negative. The other states that are now trying to pass similar laws. Texas's controversial new abortion law is making waves across the country, and now leaders in states, companies, and President Biden all voicing their thoughts. News Nation's Marky Martin is in Dallas, Texas. And Marky, this is the country's biggest curb on abortion rights since Roe v. Wade. And Rudabeh, that was 1973. And as you know, this law is being met with mixed reaction. Of course, staunch criticism, but also keep in mind, too, we're here in the Bible Belt, so it's also being met with high praise from some folks as well. This law is so strict, it doesn't even include exceptions for rape or incest. President Biden calling this an absolute assault on constitutional rights under Roe v. Wade. And how this works differently, what makes this different from other laws, is that it practically deputizes private citizens to report or even sue anybody involved in the abortion process, from the performing doctor all the way to the Uber driver who even drives you to the clinic to get that procedure done and taken care of. And not to mention, it goes even further than that. Anybody who sues successfully is entitled to $10,000. And when it comes to that reward system, President Biden actually spoke on the matter today. Take a listen.
The most pernicious thing about the Texas law, it sort of creates a vigilante system where people get rewards to go out to, anyway. And it just seems, I know this sounds ridiculous, almost un-American.
Un-American. And something else of note that is new, you have now these big dating apps that are coming forward saying that they are creating relief funds to protect employees. You have Bumble. You had the CEO of Match Group coming out this week, sending out a company-wide email saying that they have this relief fund for any of their employees, women or families who are affected by this. And just this afternoon, ride-sharing company Lyft also coming out with the same thing, saying that they will be covering 100% of the legal fees for any of its drivers that find themselves involved in a lawsuit or sued because they took a woman to a clinic to get an abortion. Rudabeh. So, Marky, Texas is certainly the strictest in the country when it comes to abortion laws, but are there other states now considering the same? Yes, so I think it's important to note that there are several states who have passed laws but have been unable to implement them just because they're facing legal challenges. We can tell you more than a dozen states have tried to enact this ban early on in pregnancy. And then just this week on Thursday, at least half a dozen states came forward to say that they're now considering at least pushing the same kind of jargon that Texas now implemented when it comes to the citizen response, the citizens, being able to sue and report themselves. Those states would be Mississippi, Arkansas, Florida, Indiana, and the Dakotas. Ruta Bay.
Marky, thank you. A former prosecutor in Georgia who worked on the Ahmaud Arbery case has been indicted because of a relationship she allegedly had with one of Arbery's alleged killers. We hear from his mother tonight. Thanks for joining us. Here's what's happening in your nation now. Parts of a New Jersey town were evacuated this morning as floodwaters continued to rise 2 days after Ida swept into the area, and it could get worse. 70% of Fairfield is in a flood zone. The area is prone to flooding, but has never come to the point of evacuations. And the Passaic River not expected to crest until tonight, so the flood worries are not just over yet. President Joe Biden walked around hard-hit parts of Louisiana today. New Orleans and cities around it are still reeling from the hurricane, with more than 600,000 still in the dark. More than 25,000 people are working day and night to fix the power. Today, the president called on insurance companies not to deny people coverage for living assistance. Before leaving for Louisiana today, President Biden signed an executive order directing the FBI to declassify certain documents relating to the September 11th terrorist attack. The order requires the Attorney General to release the information over the next 6 months. The president says today's order is the fulfillment of a campaign promise for more transparency. And the News Nation family mourning one of our own tonight. Gary Waddell, who was a longtime anchor at our Las Vegas station KLAS, died last night after suffering a heart attack while undergoing treatment for COVID-19. Waddell worked for KLAS for more than 3 decades before retiring in 2012. He recently contracted COVID-19 despite having received both doses of the COVID vaccine. He had been treated with remdesivir and was starting to recover when he suffered that heart attack. Gary Waddell was 77 years old. A grand jury has indicted a former Georgia prosecutor on misconduct charges related to the killing of Ahmaud Arbery. The indictment alleges Jackie Johnson had a working relationship with one of the accused killers and shielded the men from charges because of it. News Nation correspondent Janelle Fort joining us now. And Janelle, you spoke to his family today.
Yeah, Ruta Bay, I just spoke with Arbery's mom, and she says that this indictment is a huge win for her son's case. These charges, they're against former Brunswick District Attorney Jackie Johnson. As you said, she was the county's top prosecutor when Arbery was shot last year. And state prosecutors allege that she used her position to delay the arrest of the 3 men who chased and killed the 25-year-old. Per the indictment, she's charged with violating her oath of office for allegedly, quote, showing favor and affection to Greg McMichael during the investigation. McMichael had previously worked for Johnson as an investigator in her office. Now, she's also charged with preventing 2 Glenn County police officers from exercising their duties by, quote, directing that Travis McMichael should not be placed under arrest. The 2 counts carry a maximum punishment of 6 years in prison. The McMichaels, who are a father and son pair, and their neighbor William Roddy Bryan Jr. fatally shot Arbery in February of 2020. The men told police they thought he was a burglar and shot him in self-defense. Charges weren't filed until the cell phone video Bryan recorded of the incident went viral months later. From the beginning, you've said that this office had mishandled your son's case.
It shows that someone else saw that something went wrong besides me and my family. The state of Georgia also, they were able to come in and look at the cases and see that something was actually done very, very, very wrong.
Now, Johnson has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing. We reached out to her attorney, but did not get a response. In Ruta Bay, the trials for those 3 men is slated to begin next month.
Janelle, thank you. An Arizona man who painted his face and wore a hat with horns during the riots at the U.S. Capitol in January appeared before a judge today. News Nation correspondent Michael Shore joining us live. And Michael, what happened to the so-called QAnon shaman?
Yeah, his name is Jacob Chansley Rudabeh, and he pleaded guilty to 1 count of obstructing an official proceeding. And what that has done to another one of the defendants is it gave them 8 months in jail. And this, of course, Chansley is the most recognizable, at the very least, of those Capitol rioters on January 6th, which it'll be 9 months or 8 months this coming Monday since that riot. And a lot of these trials have not been sort of dispensed with yet. But Chansley has pleaded that case. He's served 8 months already, and prosecutors are saying that they want him to serve a lot more, asking for between 41 and 51 months. Jacob Chansley's lawyer has said that he wants him released until that sentencing happens, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. The judge said he will release I guess a result of that consideration at the beginning of next week. Rudabeh.
And Michael, give us some context here. How many Capitol rioters have been sentenced, and what is the typical punishment?
You know, the number is exactly 600 now. Those are federal charges. People have been charged in the federal system in Washington for what happened there. Of those 600, 521 are men, 79 are women. And what's really interesting is over 85% of these cases have really been brought to fruition because of the use of social media or other online presences. If you look at some of the other cases, I guess the most famous is in the death of Officer Brian Sicknick. You have Julian Cobber and George Tanios. Both men have been charged with 9 counts in the death of Sicknick, not for murder, but for events leading up to his death. He died a day after the riots, you'll recall. Tanios also saying that he should be out of jail. Next week on the 8th, the judge will say whether or not one of those 2 men can be released. Rudabeh?
All right, Michael Shore, thank you. COVID-19 concerns and vaccines making their way to the college football season. How the shots are helping football programs across the country and the worries that still exist. Now to the pandemic in America. Federal health officials are warning the White House that the president's plan to offer booster shots to most Americans later this month might be limited. They're saying that the 3rd shot might be available only to people who received the Pfizer vaccine. Plus, today, parents of disabled students in Iowa filed a lawsuit seeking to strike down the state's law banning schools from requiring masks. They say the mandate denies equal access to education. And a new report from Great Britain shedding more light on so-called breakthrough cases. According to the report, people who are vaccinated and get COVID are 50% less likely to end up with long-term COVID symptoms. And football season is officially underway. The NFL kicks off next week with colleges and high school teams already playing on the field tonight. News Nation correspondent Aaron Nolan joining us now live in Bentonville, Arkansas. And Aaron, how are COVID and vaccines affecting this year's season?
Well, Rudabeh, even with football and you're thinking about wins and losses, you can't not think about vaccines and COVID right now. I am joining you from Bentonville, Arkansas. It is hot under the Friday night lights tonight, but that's the South. COVID concerns. The pandemic is no doubt creating problems on these playing fields. In Ohio, Arkansas, and Tennessee, games have already been postponed or canceled because of outbreaks. This Delta variant continue to rage, not only here in the South, but Ohio and the Midwest as well. Let's shift over to the college football field right now. We're talking about the first full Saturday of games. That is tomorrow. Tens of thousands of people are going to pack stadiums across the nation. And the rules for access to stadium, well, they vary from school to school and state to state. Louisiana State, LSU, is requiring vaccines or a recent negative test, while across the country in Georgia, there are no mandates in place. Here in Arkansas, the university is requiring masks indoors while also giving fans the chance to get the shot at games.
In 2 different locations here within our stadium that we will have vaccinations available on Saturday. And if you've decided now's the right time for you to become vaccinated and you're coming to the football game, hey, let's just enjoy the Razorback football game, get vaccinated, and hopefully go home happy.
We want to talk about vaccination rates very quickly. I did call the SEC or reach out to the Southeastern Conference. That's all the South football teams. They don't give vaccination rates, but I can tell you in Arkansas, the vaccination rates for student athletes and the staff around the athletic department is 95%. But Rudabeh, the question and the concerns right now, is outside. There's going to be tailgating, and there is no CDC mandate for outside right now, so masks probably will be scarce at tailgates across the country. Back to you.
All right, Aaron, stay cool in the South. Thank you. And Gerard Jabali joins us once again from the Weather Center. So, Gerard, what kind of weather can college football fans expect for tomorrow's Week 1 matchups?
Well, some places it's going to be pretty hot, but mostly dry across most of the nation here. So, college football, a lot of folks are excited, myself included, to see what is going to happen. Here's some of the big games that we have going on as we head into the week. We'll be looking at the best chance for some thunderstorm activity, mainly across the central part of the United States. So we'll be looking at college football across everywhere from Norman, Oklahoma, including down towards Austin, Texas. We'll be looking at the best chance for some high heat down to the south. Way out here towards California, we'll be also looking at highs near 90 degrees for kickoff.
All right, Gerard, thank you. It is cold on the ice, but hockey players across the world have a new fire lit under them. The agreement that's sending NHL players to the Olympics for the first time in years. And Kanye West and Drake both out with new albums. The factors driving the dueling records up the charts, and who might come out on top in the end. Music lovers are rejoicing today. Two of the most highly anticipated albums of the year released in the same week. Drake's Certified Lover Boy and Kanye West's Donda. Coincidence or intentional? News Nation entertainment correspondent Sloan Glass is here with the latest on why the music world is keeping a close eye on the charts. Sloan.
Oh, yeah, and the stakes just got raised for Kanye West and Drake. Two of the top rappers in the world have put out music back to back. Now their feud will go from social media digs to fighting for the Billboard top spot.
How much I gotta spend for you to pipe down? How deep I gotta dig for you to pipe down?
It was a collision waiting to happen. Both artists teasing new music while simultaneously taking personal digs at each other.
With Drake, it's like, don't speak on nobody from my family, nothing that could be even mentioned with my wife. Period. We don't have to talk again.
Drake had been teasing his sixth studio album for almost a year. He even implied on the previously released track Betrayal that West's Donda drop would not affect his final date. And the rapper took more direct hits at West on his album in an apparent response to Ye posting Drake's address on Instagram last week. Both top of their game, but taking totally different approaches to the launches. Drake drawing out the tease, changing his hair, using colorful, emoji-filled cover art. Kanye, his Donda cover is a simple black square, and he opted for a non-traditional Sunday release date. In fact, nothing about Donda has been traditional. West moved into modest conditions inside Atlanta's United Stadium while finishing the album, and, like Drake, kept fans on their toes with delays. West's 10th album has been met with considerable backlash from fans and critics. His second stadium listening event featured scandal-ridden guests DaBaby and Marilyn Manson. Drake is not free from controversy. His song TSU samples R. Kelly's Half of a Baby. Kelly is currently facing accusations of sexual abuse and standing trial for federal sex trafficking and racketeering. Even amid the war of words and scheduling bumps, Donda has had one of the biggest opening weeks of the year. The album is set to debut at #1 on the Billboard charts. But considering Drake's track record, West won't be holding on to that spot for much longer. Drake was the first artist to hit 50 billion streams on Spotify. And Certified Lover Boy is a shoo-in to be one of the top albums of the year, if not #1.
So much drama, and both of these albums feature a lot of collaboration. So is it true Jay-Z is appearing on both the artists' releases?
Yes, it's quite unusual. He's not taking a stand. He's with both of them. He's on Drake's album and Kanye's.
So what do you think the chances are that they reconcile? Is there hope?
I think so. Kanye's manager had said that he believes that they could collaborate together in the future. It all depended on what Drake did in Drake's album, but considering the lyrics, I don't know. They might not be ready to put the past behind them.
All right, Sloan, thank you so much. The Donlin Report starts at the top of the hour. Adrian is in the studio for Joe today. What are you working on?
Well, Rudabeh, tonight on the Donlin Report, a lot of big stories. A big miss in today's jobs report with rising pay and benefits. Why are so many Americans deciding to still stay home? I spoke with U.S. Labor Secretary Marty Walsh about the new normal for American workers. And are you planning to travel this holiday weekend? Are you tired of hearing us ask you that? You know what you're doing. What kind of headache is in store for you at the airport and on the roads? We'll see you with that and more at the top of the hour. Rudabeh, back to you.
All right, Adrienne, thank you. President Biden announcing a new plan to address future pandemics, how much money the federal government is throwing behind the plan, and details coming up. We continue now live from our News Nation headquarters in Chicago. Here's a look at what's going on now in your nation. The White House today unveiling a $65 billion plan to combat future pandemics. The Biden administration says the plan has 5 pillars, each addressing the different parts of the public health system. It includes billions of dollars over the next decade to improve vaccines and therapeutics, as well as public health infrastructure. In Florida, the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School shooter cannot be called animal or that thing during his upcoming trial. But the judge rejected a defense request that Nicholas Cruz only be called by his name or simply the defendant. Cruz faces 17 counts of murder for the 2018 mass shooting in Parkland. A former cardinal in the Catholic Church pleaded not guilty today to sexually assaulting a 16-year-old boy years ago. 91-year-old Theodore McCarrick is accused of groping and assaulting the boy at a wedding reception in 1974. His bail was set at $5,000. McCarrick is the only cardinal in the U.S., current or former, to be ever criminally charged with child sex crimes. NHL players are skating back to the Olympics. The league has reached an agreement with the International Olympic Committee and International Ice Hockey Federation for its players to participate in the 2022 Winter Games in Beijing. The league or players will be able to withdraw from the games if COVID circumstances change or if there's an outbreak during the season. This will be the first Olympic men's hockey tournament with NHL players since Sochi in 2014. And that's all for Rush Hour tonight. Up next, the Donlin Report. Later tonight, On Balance with Leland Bitter, News Nation Prime, and Banfield. And to check on headlines anytime at newsnationnow.com. Have a great week.